should be live and good to go. All right. Test, test. All right, we're on. Janine, I'm ready when you are.
Okay. Okay, Mayor.
All right, we will call the meeting to order if we can stand for a moment of silent reflection and the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do the roll call, Janine.
Mr. Capristo, absent. Mr. Casagran?
Here.
Mr. Gretz?
Here.
Mrs. King?
Here.
Mr. Schuler?
Here.
That's it.
I'm here too, if you want to, I mean, if you're concerned.
Sorry, yes.
Thank you. Our Open Public Meetings Act statement of compliance pursuant to the requirements of the New Jersey's Open Public Meetings Act. Notice of this meeting was included in the annual meeting notice filed in the office of the Borough Clerk, posted on the Borough website and on the bulletin board in the municipal building, published as a legal notice in the CoStar newspaper, and mailed to those requesting notice and providing payments in accordance with borough policy. The agenda's been published. We have it here. If I get a motion to approve the agenda?
Make that motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. A roll call, please.
Mr. Casagran?
Yes.
Mr. Gretz?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Motion passes.
The minutes for July 2020, published here for approval. Do we have any abstentions? One who's not here. Okay, so if I can get a motion and a second. Thank you.
Second.
And roll call?
Mr. Casagran?
Yes.
Mr. Gretz?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Motion
Perfect.
passes.
And that brings us to our presentation. Sir, you have the floor.
Will sound a little muffled, but
That's okay.
okay. So it is indeed my pleasure tonight to come represent the New Jersey State Association of Chiefs of Police to recognize your police department as one of the best police departments in the state of New Jersey. Not just
We already knew that.
I know.
Oh, wait, one of? No, we have the best.
I actually bring proof.
Oh, okay.
So with that said, in March of this year, your police department achieved accreditation, which puts them in an elite group of law enforcement agencies that have made the effort to get accredited. Today, we have about 39% of all the agencies that would be eligible in the state of New Jersey to accredited. So that means that there's still a small group of agencies that have made that decision, have actually achieved it. And it's not because, the reason why there are many more is because it's a very rigorous process, and so it takes commitment not only from the chief, the staff, but the government body to support them as well. So if you indulge me for a couple of minutes, I'd like to share with you the significance of the achievement from the Spring Lake Heights Police Department. So accreditation is a process which they can tell you, lasted several months. The foundation of accreditation lies in the adoption of standards containing a clear statement of professional objectives. Accreditation is a progressive and time-proven way of helping law enforcement agencies calculate and improve their overall performances. It is a certification by an independent authority, in this case the State Association of Chiefs of Police, that the agency was carefully measured against an established set of state and national standards and has met, and in the case of the Spring Lake Police Department, and I'll touch upon that in a couple of minutes, have exceeded accepted practices in the field of law enforcement. So for those that always say, for members of the public, what's in it for me, there's certainly something that applies to them. This research shows that accredited agencies have 11% fewer police professional liability claims, 11% fewer worker compensation claims, and 31% fewer auto liability claims. And moreover, municipalities to participate in the male-affiliated joint insurance fund stand to receive substantial insurance premiums discounts when the police department, as yours has, attain accreditation. Now, in addition to these fiscal advantages, there are other very important benefits of accreditation. Accredited agencies are better able to defend against lawsuits and citizen complaints. Accreditation provides objective evidence of an agency's commitment to excellence in leadership, resource management, and service delivery. Government officials can be more confident in the agency's ability to operate efficiently and meet community needs. And accreditation embodies that very important precept of community-oriented policing. It creates a forum in which police and citizens work together to prevent and control challenges confronting law enforcement and provide clear direction about community expectations. For many years, we thought we knew what the public wanted. Certainly, that mindset has changed. Accreditation standards give the chief a proven management system of written directives, sound training, clearly defined lines of authority, and routine reports that support decision-making and resource allocation. And as I see many here tonight, I understand there's going to be promotions made and even the appointment of new officers. Officers in accredited agencies are able to take pride that they have been objectively recognized for their professionalism and adherence to the highest standards in law enforcement today. Now, at the end of that process, there is what we call an on-site assessment. It's the final hurdle that the police department needs to overcome in order for then have an opportunity to sit in front of the commissioners and eventually achieve accreditation. So I just take from there just a few excerpts that were shared with came out of that report. The Spring Lakes Heights Police Department, under the direction of Chief Edward Gunnell, has achieved their accreditation, demonstrating his commitment, because even in his bio he said it was one of his goals, to adhere to state and national best practices in the field of law enforcement. Chief Gunnell had made accreditation a goal as the head of this agency. This agency has identified clear targeted objectives. That's laudable, in order to continue to provide professional police services to their residents. It's concentrated on succession planning and firmly believes that the success of any organization depends on having the right people with the right correct skills, capabilities, and the right experience in the proper positions to affect the most amount of change. The Spring Lake Heights Police Department is a professional organization with disciplined and well-trained personnel. Their leadership is progressive and forward-thinking. They're going to have added a few officers here tonight at that level as well. The high level of, it is the opinion of the assessment team that the Spring Lakes Heights Police Department is a highly professional and committed agency which exemplifies all of the tenets of law enforcement accreditation. Therefore, again, I repeat, it's indeed my pleasure. Oh, I wanted to say one thing. That's what it puts them in a category of less than 10% of the agencies that actually achieve accreditation for the first time, and that is that the final report can show areas which we may have to address while we're on site. In the case of the Spring Lake Heights Police Department, there was none. That is, in a very fundamental way, it's like getting an A+ in your final exam. So that's pretty laudable as well. So that puts them in a very elite group of law enforcement agencies that when they make it the first time, make it without a blemish, if you will. Therefore, it is my pleasure and my privilege, on behalf of the New Jersey State Association of Chiefs of Police and the New Jersey Law Enforcement Commission, to congratulate Chief Edward Gunnell, his accreditation manager, Captain Robert Schaefer, the members and staff of the Spring Lake Heights Police Department, the mayor, council, and those citizens that they so proudly serve for achieving their accreditation, joining a very exclusive group of law enforcement agencies that have made this commitment to excellence in policing. So to all, indeed, congratulations.
I'm smiling. Thank you.
Thank you.
First and foremost, thank you, Captain Bob Schaefer. He was the accreditation manager who really spearheaded many of the changes that have gone on within the department and to achieve accreditation. Secondly, to the officers that had to deal with Captain Schaefer's emails, kicking back reports and making necessary changes and like Mr. Delgado said, we bring our game up a little bit. I appreciate your time and effort and I appreciate you continuing that effort in the future. In addition, thank you to the mayor and council. You guys have always supported this goal of ours, of mine, and there wasn't a ton of pushback. We had to do a lot of changes, and we accomplished all of them, so thank you very much. Lastly, John Barrett, thank you very much for listening to us pitch all of our ideas and, giving us the green light for a lot of the changes that took place in the agency and stuff. So, Mayor, thank you.
Great work. That's a fantastic achievement, and everybody here, we appreciate everything you guys do for all of our residents on a daily basis, and it really shown the last week of the chaos we had to deal with here, and everybody stepping up, and, I mean, the organization is second to none. I think everybody here does a phenomenal job and represents all the best in our community, and no slight on our neighboring towns and the wonderful guests in the back, and I see Tony back there and some of the other guys. We love you guys too, but we just got the pick of the litter here, no offense. So speaking of that, let's move on to the resolutions we have on here to fill the tremendous void that will be left by Captain Schaefer back there. Thank you for all of your service and dedication, not only getting us here, but for helping elevate the police department over the last few years to get us to where we are now. And you guys have some big shoes to fill, so let's start with the first one there for Resolution 2020-103, appointing a captain to the police department and authorizing an employment agreement for Michael Matunis.
Make a motion.
Second.
Motion a second, a roll call?
Mr. Casagrande?
Yes.
Mr. Gretz?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Congratulations. We're going to run through all the resolutions, then come back, okay. Next would be appointing a lieutenant, Travis Ventimiglia, to the police department, Resolution 2020-104.
Motion.
Second.
Mr. Casagrande?
Yes.
Mr. Gretz?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Motion passes.
And then with the vacancies in the sergeant positions that have now been created by those two promotions, the next resolution, 2020-105, is for Christopher Bennett to be promoted to sergeant.
Make that motion. Second.
Mr. Casagrande?
Yes.
Mr. Gretz?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Motion passes. Congratulations.
And the next resolution, 2020-106, for the other sergeant position, promotion of Kenneth Hager.
Motion.
Second.
Mr. Casagrande?
Yes.
Mr. Gretz?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Motion passes. Congratulations.
Wonderful. And finally, Resolution 2020-107, welcome our newest probationary police patrolman, Joseph DeFeo.
Motion.
Second.
Mr. Casagrande?
Yes.
Mr. Gretz?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay.
I'll be good.
Can I get the guests of the It's too bad this promotion doesn't carry over to the household.
Wait, does Karen know that it doesn't? I thought I saw a second badge up there for her. Oh, the little one, oh.
Still a little guy.
Still second in charge.
Of nothing.
Mhm.
If you'd like to take your mask off for the photos, sure.
Mhm.
I, Michael Matunis,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and comply
that I will support and comply
with the Constitution of the United States of America,
with the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution and the laws of the state of New Jersey,
the Constitution and the laws of the state of New Jersey,
the rules and regulations of the Spring Lake Heights Police Department,
the rules and regulations of the Spring Lake Heights Police Department,
and the law enforcement code of ethics,
and the law enforcement code of ethics,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of my office as police captain
of my office as police captain
to the best of my ability, so help me God.
to the best of my ability, so help me God.
You gotta draw more blood for good luck.
Actually, that doesn't make any sense. Careful. That doesn't make sense at all. Sorry.
Should have practiced that.
Yes.
Everybody turn around.
Over here. Ready, say, Bocce.
Karen, you did say that you are the captain of the household.
I am.
Congratulations. Mayor Council, thank you very much. I really appreciate this, and I will do this department very well. Thank you very much.
We have no doubts. Thanks, Mike.
And the guests of Lieutenant Ventimiglia.
Just trying to stay out of glare. Outside, you told me I'm a promoter, right?
Hold this for Dad. Okay, you repeat after me, but I'm gonna hold it for a second. I, Travis Ventimiglia,
I, Travis Ventimiglia,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and comply with the Constitution of the United States of America,
that I will support and comply with the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution and the laws of the state of New Jersey,
the Constitution and the laws of the state of New Jersey,
the rules and regulations of the Spring Lake Heights Police Department,
the rules and regulations of the Spring Lake Heights Police Department,
and the law enforcement code of ethics,
and the law enforcement code of ethics,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of my office
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of my office
as police lieutenant
as police lieutenant
to the best of my ability, so help me God.
to the best of my ability, so help me God.
used to be.
Yeah, just relax. Thank you.
Is your family getting tired of these promotions?
Hi. No kidding. Have the guests of Sergeant Bennett?
Is it just sticking in? Doesn't matter, right?
Sure. You can go front row.
I deserve that, ever put up with that all those years?
And we're live, Mom. Streaming to the world.
Repeat after me, but I'm gonna hold this so you can see it.
You can take your
I,
mask off.
Christopher Bennett,
I, Chris Bennett,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I support and comply
I'll support and comply
with the Constitution of the United States of America,
with the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution and the laws of the state of New Jersey,
the Constitution and laws and the state of New Jersey,
the rules and regulations of the Spring Lake Heights Police Department,
with the rules and regulations of the Spring Lake Heights Police Department,
and the law enforcement code of ethics,
and the law enforcement code of ethics,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and will faithfully discharge the duties
of my office as police sergeant
of my office as police sergeant
to the best of my ability, so help me God.
to the best of my ability, so help me God.
They're gone.
No, I didn't do this for a long time.
Nice job.
Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, Trevor.
Hey, Chief, before everybody bounces out, I do have
It's cursed
something
now.
that Spouthoff wanted me to read before everybody leaves, so I'd like to read that before everybody departs. He put some words in too, don't let everybody clear before I read it. I totally forgot. Yeah.
Oh.
Thank you.
We'll do pictures outside.
Are you lucky?
No, wait. Right. Show them off.
My button pusher.
What's that? Come on down. Here.
Yes, Sergeant Hager?
John, that's the camera that streams, right?
Yes.
Me too.
You can take your masks off. I don't have any.
I don't know what's going on this side.
I, Kenneth Hager,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and comply with the Constitution of the United States of America,
that I will support and comply with the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution and the laws of the State of New Jersey,
the Constitution and the laws of the State of New Jersey,
the rules and regulations of the Spring Lake Heights Police Department,
the rules and regulations of the Spring Lake Heights Police Department,
and the Law Enforcement Code of Ethics,
and the Law Enforcement Code of Ethics,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of my office
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of my office
as police sergeant
as police sergeant
to the best of my ability, so help me God.
to the best of my ability, so help me God. Take a video real quick. One second. You got it. Thank you. Yeah, it was loud. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Yes, so Patrolman DeFeo.
That's all right. I, Joseph DeFeo,
I, Joseph DeFeo,
do solemnly swear that I will support
do solemnly swear that I will support
and comply with the Constitution of the United States of America,
and comply with the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution and the laws of the State of New Jersey,
the Constitution and the laws of the State of New Jersey,
the rules and regulations of the Spring Lake Heights Police Department,
the rules and regulations of the Spring Lake Heights Police Department,
and the Law Enforcement Code of Ethics,
and the Law Enforcement Code of Ethics,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of my office
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of my office
as patrolman
as patrolman
to the best of my ability, so help me God.
to the best of my ability, so help me God.
Too much pressure.
New guy, you know? It's easier to change his diaper. All right, come on.
Welcome aboard. Thanks. Yep. Yeah, before everybody runs out, everybody's aware that the school has a meeting tonight that conflicts with us, and obviously they're dealing with a lot of stuff with their reopening plan and planning for September. And as you guys know, we have a tremendous partnership with them, working for what's best in our community, and you guys play a big part of that, keeping our schools safe. So Superintendent Spouthoff wanted to let you know that he would be here with you, and he's here in spirit, and he sent a message that he would like me to read through for you guys just while you're all here. So I might have to paraphrase some of it because it's kind of addressed to me, so if I say a you or a me, I'm sure you can transpose. So on behalf of the Spring Lake Heights staff and students, we would like to congratulate Captain Schaefer on his well-deserved retirement. Captain Schaefer held many roles over the years in Spring Lake Heights, and his work at the school as both a teacher and administrator will always be remembered and cherished. His dedication to students and staff while part of the police department was far above any expectations someone would have for a police officer. Congratulations, Captain Schaefer. We also want to recognize the well-deserved promotions of Captain Matunis, Lieutenant Ventimiglia, Sergeants Bennett and Hager. The four define what it means to care about the community and take an active role in the day-to-day operations and interactions with our Spring Lake Heights school students and staff. Thank you for your continued dedication and congratulations on your promotions, gentlemen. Lastly, we would like to welcome Joe DeFeo to our Spring Lake Heights community. Officer DeFeo, you are joining the best police department in the world. Welcome. Superintendent Spouthoff. So everyone, thank you again for all of your efforts. I know we'll keep doing Proud going forward. Thank you for everything you guys do, especially over the last week. Hopefully that's the last one for a very long time. I don't think we're in trouble for kidnapping any JCP&L guys, are we? I'm not aware of any pending warrants, but.
Not yet.
All right, if you guys want to head out, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So while we're winding down, that takes us to our discussion items, which we have none of, so we'll hit mayor and council reports. Councilman Gretsch, you want to kick us off here?
Real quick, in July, police responded to 1,031 calls. Guess for the craziness, I did not get a first aid report or a fire report, but I just want to mention that all of our public safety people, police department, fire department, first aid squad, through the storm were very active, and I appreciate all their efforts through everything. That'll be it.
Okay, Councilman Casagrande?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, just want to mention that, thank you to the department heads and to our administrative staff working with Chief Cannell, and the fact that the promotions, the retirement of Captain Schaefer and the promotions were managed in a way that was revenue neutral, that there was no additional expenditure associated with this fund year, and also that the audit from 2019 was completed. So hopefully everybody had the opportunity to review, and the borough remains in excellent financial shape. Very, very minor recommendations came forward in the audit from last year. That's all I have.
Okay, Councilwoman King?
What I'm going to report on is the Allaire Road Park. We've had a couple of meetings in reference to replanting of the trees, and we met last Wednesday. We put together what we hope is going to be our final revision. So I do have a preliminary copy of that, which I want to get together with our borough attorney, Mr. Collins, on, and review some of the plans. And we're waiting for Alex Burke to give us the cost factor and how much this is going to involve. We've tried to add a couple of things like irrigation and stuff like that. So once we get those, which I'm hoping is going to be in another week to 10 days, I'll be presenting that to Dennis as well. And then we should be in a good alignment to bring it all to the
Great
council
news.
and go from there. Right now, it looks like we're going to be planting approximately 40-some trees, depending on how our new revision goes. So hopefully it'll fall within our line of budget.
Just keep them away from power lines, please. We've had enough this week.
Yes. If it does not, then we figured we would break it up and we'll do it in segments.
Okay.
But right now, what the plan is to go from the northwest corner of the park, which is right behind Peg Melchione's house, and come all the way across that back part up to where, right after Sandy, we planted some of our own trees.
Okay.
There's gonna probably be a lot taken out, and then there's possibly gonna even be some taken out of some of the new trees that have died. But, we wanna make it as nice of a barrier as we can, make it nice and thick, so that the people won't be complaining. That's our main goal. And, I would venture to say that probably the trees are gonna fall in line with the trees that are up behind Peg Melchione's house, because that has filled in very well, and it's made it a nice barrier, and she's been very vocal on that point, and, you know, let everybody know on the committee that it has worked out, you know, nicely.
That's great news.
So, yes, what we're looking for is we're looking that hopefully we will be able to start planting in October, end of September, beginning of October. It'll just depend on where we go over the next few weeks. So I'll be giving you a call, Mr. Collins.
Yeah, with potential bidding issues, I'll look at it for,
Perfect. That's a great update. Thank you. Anything else?
No, I don't have anything on legislation and grants, because we've kind of, that's kind of been put in the background, but we really do have to get going on something.
Yeah, definitely. Councilman Schuler, you're up.
I'd just like to comment, the Public Works are doing a great job on the cleanup after this last hurricane. They'll continue going till they get the town clean. And they're working at it very hard. That's all I have.
I couldn't agree more. I think they did a phenomenal job, especially clearing big trees out of the roadway, and it really helped facilitate power restoration by allowing those guys to come in and work, from our crews supporting the handful of contractors that came in and really being able to expedite the one on the highway. I think they gave an estimate it was supposed to take like 4 to 6 hours to get the giant tree out of the roadway, and thanks to Joe and their crew, I think it took an hour and a half. So pretty impressive, and again, to all the departments on what went on over the storm events over the last week. There's going to be some conversations with JCP&L and some of the upper management people that I'm really disgusted by their communications, and I think that there's a lot that they have to learn to do better. It's abysmal, the information that comes out for people to be able to plan and handle the situations. I understand that the trees that fell were massive. The destruction we saw firsthand, the videos that were out there, the pictures. I don't think there's any reasonable way that they can handle the situation any more expeditiously. The way the storm came in down south, where they had assets assigned, moving them up, getting things moving. I think the ground level guys, the supervisors, the linemen did a tremendous job handling the problem. I think the management and their communications is just embarrassing. Putting out arbitrary dates, putting out dates a week and a half out, saying when stuff's going to come back, not allowing us to properly plan and coordinate to handle things with realistic timelines and expectations, not letting us know what's going on in surrounding areas. And I want to praise our teams here. I mean, Chief Gannell was phenomenal being out there on the front lines, collecting a ton of information to get out there to JCP&L so we could help them get into areas instead of just saying, hey, this area's out, being able to communicate to them poll numbers, pictures, information. And I definitely want to say thanks to John Mee and our area manager from JCP&L, because that's about as high up as I'll go in giving praise. But he was incredible. Every time I called, even with some very direct and firm and aggressive conversations from my end with displeasure, he still kept taking my calls. He still helped rerouting troops and getting people over where they needed to be and expediting getting people back up in the area. So I am grateful for some of that, but in the near future, I'm sure I'm not the only one feeling this way, that there's a lot of mayors that are very upset with how things were handled. Again, it's easy to sit here and say they should have done better and they should, I've seen the stuff about move power lines underground. Bill, you're an electrician, you know what that goes for. I did some research online, and some of the numbers I saw are anywhere from $750 to $1,500 a foot. So if you take $750 a foot, we have 20 miles of cable, and there's 5,280 feet per mile, and you multiply that, it's about $80 million to bury just Spring Lake Heights. And then when they do that, they're going to be digging through the root systems and killing all the trees that are along the path and create that whole problem. And then we have pipes and transformers on the ground. Every time it floods, they fill with water. It's a whole nother problem. So yes, I think there's a lot that can be done with vegetative management, but ultimately this storm went inland. It pushed winds at a high degree in a direction they don't normally go. It toppled trees that have stood for centuries. I mean, that one down along the highway, as I mentioned to everybody, I went down there, I started counting rings on it. I gave up at 80 and I was only a third of the way through the tree. So they're massive trees that came down, and the devastation and the damage was extensive, but they have to do better with communicating where they are and restoring and getting information out so we can properly plan, and that's going to be my bone of contention going forward. So that's all I have on that, but thanks to all our teams here, our DPW, fire, police, EMS. I can't sing enough praises about what an incredible job they did out there all through making sure our residents were taken care of, opening up the charging stations, opening up the buildings for air conditioning for residents, welfare checks on residents. It was an incredible effort to get everybody back up. So that's all I have on that. Nobody else has anything else. That's it for our announcements. That brings us to our public comments, where you can comment on anything anybody would like to comment about. So if I can get a motion to open comments?
I'll motion that.
Second.
A motion and a second?
Mr. Casagrande?
Yes.
Mr. Gretz?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
We're open.
Okay, anybody want to speak? You're welcome to come up to the mic. I guess you're the only guest we have here. Would you like to comment on anything, or just, all right, very good. Anybody remote who wants to raise their hand if you have anything to offer? I'm not seeing anybody on there. So we do have a couple people on there, but no hands are coming up. So if no one has anything on remote, no one has anything here, I'll look for a motion to close our public comments.
Motion. Second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Casagrande?
Yes.
Mr. Gretz?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
We're closed.
Thank you. We have no scheduled public hearings, so we have some reports, notices, and correspondence. A letter and resolution from the Monmouth County Board of Chosen Freeholders. This is specific to Allaire Road, making it a no passing area, as we discussed about some of the changes that the chief and I have been working on to address some of the speeding and issues around town. Allaire Road is going to be made a no passing zone, and they're going to restripe the shoulder and give solid lines down the middle, which they believe, based on their experience and their traffic engineers, that will help us somewhat. And then there's some other measures that we're looking to put in place over there and in other areas of town. So I definitely appreciate Freeholder Director Arnone and the freeholders for helping us get that moving along there and working with us on those problems. We have a notice from the Spring Lake Heights Board of Education, a public notice about their meeting tonight. South Monmouth Regional Sewage Authority, a public notice about their meeting on Wednesday. Certification of the Spring Lake Heights tax bill mailing, and the Police Department monthly report that Councilman Gretz went through. What'd you say, it was about 1,100 calls over 31 days? That's a busy month. We have no ordinance introduction, so that brings us to our consent agenda. Our consent agenda has a couple resolutions on there, which are, is that just this page? We are approving the renewal of ABC licenses. We are approving outdoor music permit for the Mill Lakeside Manor on designated dates. That's for soft music outside on specific dates on their patio. And then outdoor music permit for the Tap House and the St. Stephen's Green. I know that we have no music in the outdoor dining as part of the ordinance, and they approached us to be able to have some local artists in just for acoustic music only on certain nights. I believe they're going till 9 or 10, whatever it is short. John, do you recall? It was ending before our ordinance allowed, but it's only for acoustic music. It's not for loud rock bands and other stuff, so it's meant to be, the concern was obviously with what's going on with the governor's office and the stuff that we've been putting up with, and you know how vocal I've been, so I'm not gonna go down that road and keep beating up on it, but we're not making any headway, we're not getting anywhere, and at this point, we have a lot of local bands, musicians, and artists that can't perform and do their craft because of some of the restrictions that are there. So I'm hoping that in addition to helping the businesses draw some people in, that this helps some of the local artists. So that's where that came from, but that's being issued, like you saw before, the same as we do for any of the other areas for outdoor music. What else do I have? We have requesting the Director of New Jersey's Division of Local Government Services to provide an amendment to the borough's budget for a grant acceptance, authorizing the refund of duplicate payment of property taxes, authorizing the refund of overpayment of water utilities, and then approving designated membership to the fire company. So under this consent agenda, that will be everything that we'll be voting on right now. If I get a motion.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Mr. Casagrande?
Yes.
Mr. Gretz?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, and that brings us to individual resolutions. The first resolution, 2020-115, is to confirm appointments of school crossing guards for the upcoming school year.
Motion.
Second.
Mr. Casagrande?
Yes.
Mr. Gretz?
Abstain.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. 2020-116, certifying that the members of the governing body have reviewed the annual audit for the year 2019. If I can get John or John just to speak a little bit about the comments that were on there.
Sure, Mayor. With regard to the audit, we had a successful audit with John Swisher, who's a managing partner on the job. Our financials that we gave the auditor held up to their scrutiny, so no material changes to anything. There was one disallowed entry in the trust fund for a public defender and utilization of off-duty employment fees, so that was reversed, resulting, I think, $800 over expenditure. We'll address that in next year's budget. And as far as keeping track of contracts into our financial software and making sure that we maintain the proper resolutions to support those. That was those were the recommendations. Otherwise, a clean audit, a strong opinion as to the financials, and I'm very happy that once again we continue to maintain our healthy fund balance and also our operations this year.
Terrific, thank you. Anybody have any questions on that before we vote, or? No? Okay. Need a motion?
Make a motion?
Second.
Mr. Casagrande?
Yes.
Mr. Gretz?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Before, just if I can interrupt for a moment, before everyone leaves, there's the affidavit that everyone needs to sign that you've at least reviewed the comments. I just need everyone to sign that if you can before you leave today.
And the comments were what you just gave us the,
Yes, and in
Notes on
fact,
it, okay.
Mayor, moving into your next resolution is basically corrective action that was approved by the auditors. And that's also part of our plan to make sure we don't repeat those comments.
okay, well, so we're in the next one then for 2020-117. That's for approving the corrective action plan for the year 2019. Could you just summarize that real quick with the?
Sure, Mayor. Just like I said, as far as the comments, that we will, the corrective action were recommendations by the auditors. In essence, we as a governing body, you as a governing body are acknowledging those, and us as an administrative team will be imposing those.
I think the big one was the NTEs on the time contracts to make sure that we're tracking billables so they don't exceed the allotted amount kind of thing, right? Wasn't that the?
Making sure that we catch up to those with resolutions.
Which is just a formal process to something that essentially we were doing, but we hadn't formalized the process.
Exactly.
Okay. If I get a motion on that?
Motion.
Second.
Mr. Casagrande?
Yes.
Mr. Gretz?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Motion passes.
And then the last resolution is 2020-118, which is approving the payment of bills.
Make that motion.
Second.
Mr. Casagrande?
Yes.
Mr. Gretz?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, if anyone has anything else, you can have the floor. Otherwise, I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Have a motion?
Second.
And a second?
Mr. Casagrande?
Yes.
Mr. Gretz?
Yes.
Mrs. King?
Yes.
Mr. Schuler?
Yes.
We're closed.
All right, we'll see everyone on